This bird never fights for food. It simply knows one sound. And that sound does everything for it. You're standing at the window. A feeder, chickadees, a bullfinch. Everything feels familiar. And then a hawk's cry. Sharp, high, cold. The birds scatter in a fraction of a second. Seeds fall to the ground. The space is cleared. No hawk, no predator, nothing. It was a jay. It did what it does every day. It said one phrase and took what it wanted. Not an apple, not bread. It stole safety. It controlled someone else's fear. We tend to think that an alarm call is altruism, a sacrifice for the flock. The mechanism works differently. Acoustic mimicry is not about helping. It is about manipulation. It's about how a living creature uses another's fear as a tool, how a sound becomes a key, and the door opens on its own. Subscribe to the Invisible Courtyard. Research in ornithology consistently shows the same result. Birds respond to an alarm call even when it is played back through a speaker. Neither visual context nor logic cancels the response. The body answers before the mind, always. The jay commands a repertoire of more than 30 sounds. Among them, precise imitations of the sparrowhawk, the goshawk, the hobby falcon. The accuracy of the mimicry is so high that specialists listening to recordings blind have mistaken the jay's voice for the predator itself. When the jay wants the feeder, it doesn't fight. It says one phrase, and the space clears itself. There are calls that every species understands. The alarm call of a chickadee triggers a response in more than 20 bird species, regardless of whether that individual has ever encountered a chickadee before, regardless of age or experience. This is not learned behavior. This is not tradition. This is architecture, hardwired into the nervous system. Another word for that architecture is vulnerability. And that vulnerability is what every imitator exploits, every single day. Stay with me. The next mechanism is the one biologists argued about the longest, because it looks too much like something we do. The raven, Corvus corax, does not rush. It waits. And the moment a competitor approaches the feeding point, it sounds the alarm. Not because it sees a threat, but because it sees an opportunity. While the others react, it eats. Behavioral biologists call this tactical manipulation. For a long time, it was considered an exclusive privilege of primates. They were wrong. Ravens have passed the mirror self-recognition test. They plan the concealment of food caches, accounting for who is watching them. This is not instinct. Researchers call it the beginnings of theory of mind, the ability to understand that another creature sees the world differently than you do. A cuckoo chick reproduces the acoustic profile of an entire brood. The intensity level as if 4 or 5 chicks were crying simultaneously in the nest. One chick. The cry of 5. Foster parents who cannot stop. Sound is stronger than sight.
Always. They don't notice. They only hear the cry. Stay with me. What comes next is what most people refuse to accept.
Not all imitators cry louder. Some cry quieter. The jay is capable of reproducing not a panic call, but something far more subtle. The sounds of a tense, but not mortally frightened environment. Not predator nearby, but something is wrong, though it's unclear what. This signal creates a zone of uncertainty. Nearby birds become alert, but don't fly away. The space stays occupied, but not closed off.
Not alarm, not calm. Managed uncertainty. This is not defense. This is direction. The starling doesn't just imitate, it claims. By including calls of more aggressive species in its repertoire, it expands its perceived territory. Competitors hear signals of others and assess the zone as occupied by something more dangerous than what's actually there. It didn't become stronger. It started sounding stronger. For those around it, that is the same thing. Acoustic status and real status are different things. Do you know people who work the same way? Who sound in a way that space clears around them before they've done anything at all? The raven makes two sounds in sequence. First, an alarm signal. Then, an imitation of the competitor retreating. The others hear the danger is gone. They relax, and at that moment, it moves toward the target. Two sounds, two illusions, one action. Look at what we've broken down. A jay that cries like a hawk. A raven that sounds the alarm to eat. A chick that cries for 5. A starling that sounds louder than it is. These are not curiosities. These are not games of nature. This is one and the same logic, realized in different bodies, in different situations, across millions of years of evolution. Controlling the behavior of another creature through a precisely delivered sound. No force, no threat. And here is the question you may have been avoiding throughout this video. Do you always know whose cry you are responding to? Because what comes next is no longer about birds. It's about you. A bird that imitates does not lie in the human sense. It has no intent as we understand it. There is only a mechanism of survival, honed over millions of years. But we have intent, and we have choice. You have heard these sounds, not in the forest, in conversations, in offices, in families. Someone raised the alarm, and the space cleared. Someone said, "Everyone is already leaving," and you left. Someone sounded like an authority, and you didn't check. Right now, you don't notice this in real time, but once you see it, you will never be able to stop seeing it. The next time you feel a sudden surge of fear, pause for a fraction of a second, not to suppress it, but to ask, is this my fear? Or to... The jay at your feeder is right again. It knows most will leave the branch before they have a chance to think. The only question is, are you in that majority? If today you remembered even one moment when someone used your fear as a tool, write about it in the comments. Share this video with someone who needs it right now. See you in the next one. If you're ready to decode the secret language outside your window, subscribe to the Invisible Courtyard.